That's right! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here!
And BlueDragonFive.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And together we are the Big Podcast 3 here to talk about...
Big Hero
6. The series.
The series.
La 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 la.
La 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 la.
La la.
All right, folks. Tonight we're talking about Season 1, Episode 6, Muirahara Woods. Dragon, I was completely right. This is basically a Muir Woods episode.
Essentially, yes, and it is impressive.
And I really like it. And one of the best things it does is it kind of very much mirrors the setting of San Francisco with the real San Francisco, where there's a big old redwood forest, a historic redwood forest directly outside of the city. Dragon, and I cannot tell you, I stressed, there's maybe a mile's worth of freeway between San Francisco and Muir Woods, like the Golden Gate Bridge and Muir Woods. It's in very close proximity to each other. So this was really cool to see. Honestly, I could spend the whole episode just talking about the setting and the world building, because honestly, I feel like this might be the coolest episode in terms of world building. Wasn't a big fan of the villain in this one, but we'll kind of talk through it, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Tiki, I'm feeling quite the opposite about. It's a cool setting. Don't get me wrong, but I'm really numb to this episode. I was a little let down. I gotta be honest by it. I mean, here's the thing. It wasn't the Go-Go episode that I had hoped. I think that we had hoped for and at least expected. I mean, basically, she bird watches and that's about it. Yeah, that's kind of the episode. In a nutshell. And that's the thing. It's a neat setting, and I do like how it looks. But I mean, aside from that, there's really not a lot to it. So I really would put this at kind of at the bottom, bottom of the.
I would probably put it at the bottom of the episodes too. Honestly, I'm just kind of trying to scrap some good out of it.
Totem pole. That's what I was looking for. To the bottom of the totem pole.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Wasabi gets a little bit more screen time, but he still has just as little to do.
We do little, but I think everyone at least gets a bit in the episode. This, I'll give it that. At least everybody.
That is a good point. This episode does have a good distribution of screen time.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing I like about the episode. There are a few things that I like, but in concept, I think there are things that they attempted that I think could have worked, but just didn't. This episode, where I really like the concept of taking Hero to the woods. That's a really good concept for an episode. Really, in the beginning, they get that going. Where, okay, we're kind of taking Hero to the Ewok, to kind of the low-tech Ewok approach in terms of armor and technology. That's kind of neat.
That's got to be a reference to Return of the Jedi. It's got to be.
Yes, but also kind of a Buzz Lightyear idea. In Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, there was this really great episode where, and of course, the same showrunners worked on that show. That's why I bring it up. Is that there's this episode where Nose 482, the energy vampire, he takes over Cosmo's diner with this new kind of it slices, it dices machine, and Nose 482, he hacked into it essentially, and he kind of overtook the place, and they can't use their spacesuits because it's technology, and he'll just suck it dry, and they're possessed in what he does. So they use this rhizonia. It's like a very herb-friendly plant. It's like a kind of a vegetarian planet almost, like all plant-based technology. So they have to wear that to go in there and fight Nose 482. And Buzz Lightyear hates Dr. Rot. I forget what his name is, but the doctor who has all the kind of the emissary of the technology from the planet, trying to sell Star Command, like, hey, let's go green with the weaponry. And Buzz Lightyear's like, oh god, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And he has to. It's funny. But yeah, it seemed very similar to kind of what they're going for with the armor look here. I was impressed by that.
But I do like that they point out the practicality of it, where it's a good idea and it's clever and it looks cool, but at the end of the day, they're going to run out of ineffective ammo very quickly.
True.
Definitely.
I also really like the introduction. This episode had a really solid introduction where we show some development. They're getting really good at heroing, and they kind of have these great introductions where there's the pier and alley, they head off this crook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, let's take in a movie. Let's see Captain Fancy, Dawn of Fanciness.
It's actually like the first time I've actually seen them like take down a normal criminal.
Yeah.
Okay, Dragon, come on. You at least had to feel something for Heathcliff in this episode.
Oh, I did. I loved Heathcliff. That's the thing. So here are the things. So again, in concept, we had the thing Hero in the Woods, which again, good in concept. I don't think we did enough with it. But again, we had at least it was serviceable, but it could have been better. Like I wish it was a little bit more about Hero, but we tried to do Go-Go and kind of quit halfway through. But the two things I love in the episode, though, I love malfunctioning Baymax and Heathcliff. Those are my two favorite elements of the episode. That Heathcliff gag, and especially malfunctioning Baymax.
Malfunctioning Baymax, I think, is the reason why this episode, like, even though it is probably the weakest of the episodes so far, it's still a very enjoyable ride, and I don't think it's like a waste of time by any means.
Bye, honey lemon.
That's still funny. That, and of course, when he scans our bad guy, he says, "You are pregnant." Oh, it's funny.
I really do think the writing for Baymax on this show has been really, really on point and hilarious.
Oh yeah, never has really kind of dropped. They've never dropped the ball on Baymax so far.
This is pretty much the closest we've ever gotten to drunk Baymax from
Exactly. Well, remember, we did get drunk Baymax in the movie when he's low on power.
I mean, that's why I said this is the closest we've ever gotten to that.
Right, yes. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Like, I kind of wish they would have explored Bessie a bit more, though.
Yeah, let's talk about Bessie. So we have Hibagong, otherwise known as Ned Ludd, the kind of pioneer in land developing. This guy, his origin, I like his origin, and I like kind of the foundation of his idea here, where he was like a land developer, had this really high tech car, and it almost got him killed because just it malfunctioning technology. Hence the grudge, and that Bessie saved his life, and therefore he worships it because he was just stranded there for a long time. And he felt a debt to this meteorite that creates like an EMP, kind of electromagnetic kind of interference field in Muir Woods, kind of turning into almost this Bermuda Triangle space. Again, the foundation of that idea is really cool.
I just think the problem is by the end of it, he's just kind of like it's sort of a stereotypical, like, crazy old prospector character.
Exactly, Tiki. He's real one-note anti-technology. That's about it. It's just he's basically he's an advanced Ewokian hillbilly. That's about it. It's kind of what he is.
Yeah, I'd say by far the weakest villain of the series so far, and so far I think the villains have been at least like good to really, really entertaining.
Yeah,
they could have done more with the concept.
Yeah. Like, here's the big missed opportunity of the episode for me is that we really could have connected this guy to Hero, and that Hero learned something from this guy, and in the end, like learns of what he could be like. If Hero learned to be resourceful by looking at this guy, which they don't really connect those dots. If they did that, they might have been able to really. I don't know. I think it would have necessitated our bad guy necessitated this whole episode more than just because, like, hey, what does Go-Go do in her off time? And then, okay, Woods.
I think there could have been like an alternative way to do that. Like they all go like on a camping trip. That would like made much more sense. It ate up less time and be able to have more time for development.
Because like a lesson of Hero, being useful without his gadgets, without the conventional means of gadgetry, even Baymax would be an interesting episode. But then we just kind of, we're just we're exploring the wilderness, which nice setting. I mean, his little tree fort that's very impressive. All the mechanisms, kind of the makeshift lanterns. It's all really cool in San Francisco-y, but not quite while we're here.
It's mainly like they just like focus on the overall gags instead of telling a cohesive story.
Yeah, we did have some cheap gags that didn't fly with me here, like the stick gag. We have some gross out gags. Fred steps in something, he's like scraping off with a stick, and we're just kind of flinging that around. We have the dung beetle, like all this related jokes just like not landing for me.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree. I think for me, I like this episode a little bit more than maybe you guys did, or at least Dragon.
I mean, I liked it. I mean, I didn't dislike.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Jacob. Just I think I at least liked it more than Dragon did, just because since I'm a San Francisco local, I like how the episode mirrored San Francisco and mirrored the geography around the surrounding area. And that for me is cool. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the I don't want to say it's as cool as the Inside Out effect, but it kind of has the whole you know, like, for God's sakes, Riley, get off the bus. You don't want to go to Oakland.
And every time we watch that scene, it's just, I'm just taking in those camera moves, and he's just taking that Oakland reference. It's just every time.
Anyway,
I actually, here's some serendipitous stuff here. I was listening to the Kevin Smith Joe Rogan podcast. This crossover podcast is really good. And I kind of learned something. Joe Rogan, he's a big kind of a natural. Well, no, it's the wrong term. He's a big, he's a big nature aficionado about the wild nature. He's a survivalist type guy, I guess. He's really, like, he knows his stuff, and that's kind of he kind of is educating Kevin Smith on a lot of this. And Kevin Smith, he actually knew one of the things he was telling him here. It was news to me that Kevin Smith, he's one of these days he's going to make a movie called Moose Jaws, because he learned this little factoid that Joe Rogan reminded me of. That mooses, or moose, crap, I don't know what the plural is on that, but a moose is very dangerous. It's very dangerous on land, more than just you would imagine, because you're thinking like Rocky and Bullwinkle. You're thinking, oh look, the friendly Canadian animal there. It's the moose. But no, seriously, the moose is really dangerous. It's almost, again, hence the Moose Jaws isn't really far off from how dangerous a moose can be, apparently. So again, we had that scene in this episode that really, it's like, oh my god, how serendipitous, where Baymax faces down a moose, and again, knowing what I know, it's like, oh my god, there's some actual danger here.
I can't wait for Moose Jaws.
That's what I'm saying. It was Baymax is in what a great deal of danger, and in the end, he tamed the wild beast, even in his drunken electromagnetic state. Yeah, we got some fun stuff there.
If only we could remember all of what Baymax said.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember what he said either. Oh, I remember he had like some other fun lines too, like I hope you're mortified with your pair, satisfied with your. Oh no, I remember what he said. Now he said, "I'm a choo-choo train." That's what he said when the moose came up to him. I'm a choo-choo.
Oh God.
So, guys, unless you got anything else you really want to drive home with this, I mean, that's all I really got. I'm just kind of numb to it overall.
No, folks, honestly, we got to say this was kind of like, a testing ground for Big Hero 6, where these are going to be shorter podcasts. I imagine these podcasts are usually going to be about like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at the most, because Big Hero 6, like, at the end of the day, it seems to be a light show that is enjoyable and is worth covering. But I feel like it's not something like DuckTales or Gravity Falls where it really warrants a ton of side conversation.
Or even Star.
Yeah, or Star.
And again, it might just be the episode, folks. We'll see as it goes on. It might just be like the episode. There's not a lot there.
The creators of Everville, they do have an arc for the season planned, so it might be more and more deep as we go further down the series.
Sure, like Okabe, that guy.
Okay. Jacob, any final thoughts on your end?
No, I mean, like I said, I don't dislike the episode by any means, but of the ones we've seen so far, I probably would call this the weakest. I mean, last week the last two episodes we covered what were they again? The food fight and
it was food fight.
Fred's Rotillion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a step down from those two. I mean, those two were especially food fight. That definitely like set the gold standard so far of these normal.
Oh my god, I love food fight so much.
And that's what I'm saying. We had a ton to say about food fight, so it's probably not the series as a whole or indicative of the series as a whole. It's just kind of frustrating that after such a good episode, we get an episode that's just like, yeah, it's good, but it's like typical Saturday morning cartoon levels of good.
We're going to the woods.
All right. I guess that's it.
And that's just my final statement. Like, especially after like food fight and Rotillion and those interesting concepts and villains, it's like this just seems like a major letdown.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Jacob and I are a week behind on DuckTales. We apologize for that. Jacob, you and I are going to be doing a double dose of DuckTales this next Saturday. Is that correct?
Triple D's down for me.
Woo-hoo! Okay.
DuckTales.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the next episode of Big Hero 6 is going to be, we're going to be covering that next Monday, and that's going to be called Failure Mode, in which Hero becomes demoralized when his latest school project fails spectacularly, and the team must take on the incompetent villain, Globby. So that's interesting. Globby's making a return appearance.
I did like Globby, but I gotta tell you, that episode premise has me a little worried, but I'm hoping the Globby side of things will carry them through. We'll see.
It's the first returning villain besides Hama.
True.
Okay, folks, thank you for watching so much, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye, Honey Lemon.